Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Welcome to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios, family owned and operated with the largest selection of natural diamond jewelry, the only diamond and jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. I'm your host, Loren Meadows of Gator Media, filling in for Shane Matthews, who's on work assignment for the next couple days. And today we'll be joined by Brent Beaird of First Coast News, as well as Mike Morgan of SEC Network. We want to thank the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, for all that he's done for the new opening, as well as Spurs Gridiron Grill. And happy birthday, belated birthday to Coach Spurrier. 80 trips around the sun. Just can't beat that at all. Follow and like us on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter. You can listen to us on 37 digital platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Last night, the Florida Gator softball team defeated USF 9-1 in walk-off fashion and headed to Baton Rouge for a big series against LSU this weekend. And we'll go right to the Titan MRI hotline and be joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, and Heisman Trophy voter as well. How you doing, sir?
Loren, thank you for helping us. I'm doing well. We've even though all the games are over, and thank God, the portals. Basketball was closed Tuesday. Football will be closed tomorrow. Maybe we can start getting a little bit of look at the upcoming season, which will be fun. So, and listen, believe it or not, we are basically, I've timed this out over the last few years, we're basically a month away, Lauren, from the first preseason college football magazines in Lindy's and Athlon.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And I mean, everybody looks forward to those magazines coming out. I remember being somebody, I'd rush to it to see what all the experts have to say, who's who. And it's funny now with the transfer portal, that who's who kind of changes from year to year. But right now, you know, a lot of the news seems to be around college football meetings that started Tuesday in Texas. A lot of the leaders of college football looking at the playoff there in Las Colinas. What can you tell us about the meetings there?
Very little has come out of these meetings right now. They end today. This is the annual meeting. Now, they have virtual meetings on a regular basis, but for everybody to be together, and by everybody, I mean not only do you have your conference commissioners, probably ADs to a degree with that, but you've also got television and bowl representatives there too. So they're all discussing what is happening now. If anything changes for 2025, it would have to be unanimous within the people who vote, the commissioners, that is. Now, for 2026, Lauren, that's what we're waiting on. Now, they may not have an answer for that yet, but the three main things they're talking about, this is the only thing that really might change for 25 is the seedings. I mean, they do the top 25 starting in November. Now, will they use that for the straight seedings, or will something change with that? Also, the governance, which basically means will the rest of the conferences sign on this long-form agreement that they want for the Big Ten and the SEC beginning in 2026? And those are the two biggest conferences with the most money, with the most resources, and the most eyes from television. and the big thing that we're all waiting on, whether it's decided now or in a few months, what would the new format be? We have a 12-team format now. Will it go to 14? Will it go to 16? Those, Loren, are basically the three big issues they are dealing with. So we will hopefully, now again, the timing is not real good if you're a college football fan awaiting a lot of information, because today is the first day of the NFL draft.
Right.
They really should have had this meeting next week when they would have had the attention of the nation on them, but that's the way it is, and we wait until the day ends to find out what may have happened.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about this. When they talk about expanding to 12 or 14 teams, going to the with the playoff with an odd number like that, 12, 14 instead of 16, was there any concern about competitive advantage with the buys? I know a couple of teams actually that had the buys didn't play extremely well coming off those buys in the playoff. Has that been a consideration, or is that just something that it's more about just getting as many teams in to drive revenue and obviously get more eyeballs on the sport?
No, that's a real consideration. There are a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth over some of the teams that got buys last year that a lot of people thought they were seeded too high, and if they would have went to the seeding or basically the top 25 that they use and just plug them in that way, they would have had more of the, shall we say, the Power Four teams that would have been with the bye. So that certainly is a consideration. Tony Petitti of the Big Ten, the commissioner, he wants 16 teams. Now, do they make the leap, Loren, quickly from 12 to 16, or do they have an intermediate 14? That'll be interesting to see. Now, what has also come out this week is for this year, or basically starting in December, going through next January, will be the fact that the Rose Bowl, believe it or not, will be an hour earlier. Man, you've got the Orange Bowl, believe it or not, that's at noon. I don't ever remember the Orange Bowl being at noon.
No, not at all. No, whatsoever. No, not. It was always the late game, as far as everything I can remember.
And you remember, Loren, it also had about an hour halftime show too. With the Orange Bowl.
Right. Oh yeah.
So, but I think what they tried to do with the Rose Bowl is, particularly for the years that the Rose Bowl is not involved in the playoffs, is their concern is, well, will the Rose Bowl bleed over into one of the late or the night playoff games? So they're adjusting the schedule a bit. That has come out. So, but yeah, everything else we're just kind of waiting. And look, nothing may happen besides these new times for the games. They may wait and do some of this a little bit over the summer. So, but they were meeting right now, and hopefully they're making some progress.
Yes, Comfort Temp Heating and Air is your #1 local HVAC company. Professional and experienced technicians keep you informed throughout the entire project. Visit us at comforttemp.com. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. One of the things that I think is going on behind the scenes, Brent, is this House settlement. And, there's been a lot of numbers thrown out, what this could do for college football, how involved the universities could be. Just tell us a little bit about this House settlement and where things may be, and how it could affect the playoffs and just the way that teams operate. Could we end up with the big national conferences where, college football breaks away? I mean, what could be the ramifications of this House settlement?
Well, the latest thing is the judge involved, Judge Wilkin. Now, we're close on this, but the judge is still not happy with it. And she made the announcement yesterday that she will not approve the House settlement is currently written, finding some issues with the roster limits. Now, again, I'm not sure we know what all this is and what the specific numbers are, but I think the NCAA wants to limit the roster, but the judge does not. So she basically sent it back to them, and I believe they have 2 weeks, if they have that long, to come up with some suggestions for roster limits that aren't going to be a real impediment for these teams. Now, this is obviously a big deal. They're also, what we think is going to happen, the schools are going to get like $20.5 or $21 million each. When this is settled, there's also going to be some back pay, some remuneration that I think goes back to like 2015, 2016. So there's a lot of this we're still waiting on, and I won't play lawyer here with it, and I'll just be brief, but that's the main thing. It's not done yet. It's a crucial couple of weeks coming up that the judge wants to be satisfied that there is fairness in the roster limit. So that's the big thing that we need to look out for. And Loren, a couple other things, we mentioned this earlier. The basketball transfer portal ended Tuesday. The football transfer portal ends tomorrow. Now, what that means is if you're in the portal, I mean, you can still go to another team, but there has to be an end to it, and that end will be tomorrow. And there will be guys who will go into the portal tomorrow, and the paperwork won't actually come out until next week. The wheels grind slowly, as you know, with some of these things.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's happening here too. So, in the bigger thing to go along with this, now Ross Bork, the AD for Ohio State, made a lot of sense this week, and he said, "Look, we need to move this portal from April and put it in May." So that, and see, that's the reason we're not having spring games on television or radio, is because the coaches don't want their players poached if they have an actual spring game. So that would help to be able to deal with that too. So as you know, the calendar here is very important.
Yeah, and Billy Napier, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that. Billy Napier was very very upfront with saying one of the reasons that the game was not on TV was to basically keep teams from getting an extra look at some players that you may have to maybe entice to go in the transfer portal and things of that nature. So, I mean, that's interesting that is something that is going to maybe become more of a normal type of thing, that these games won't be on TV. Mike Snyder coming to us from the Quality Plumbing YouTube question. Quality Plumbing, residential and commercial plumbing services and emergency repairs since 1984. Our name says it all. He says that it's funny that one judge, and maybe you can speak on this, that one judge is deciding this entire House settlement and how this will be dealt with.
Well, I would agree with that, but that's basically what it is in this lawsuit. That they've got this Judge Wilkins who is basically ruling on this. Now, look, that doesn't mean there won't be future legalese involved with all this, but that is true, and that's where we are right now. And that's one of the reasons this thing really needs to get settled, so that these schools can relax and get something going with this. That's going to be extremely important. That once they are able to get this settled, we can move on to some other issues that we need to deal with.
Yeah, and speaking of the transfer portal, remind us of the SEC intra-transfer rules, how this works. I think everybody just thinks you can go, wherever you want, whenever you want, but there are restrictions with some of those intra-transfer rules.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for SEC fans during this portal that ends tomorrow, there will be no transfers within the conference. So Florida can't get a transfer from Alabama or vice versa. They've made that rule, and I think that's probably a pretty smart rule in some ways, which means that SEC schools, if you want to get people in from the portal, you've got to be pretty creative about it outside of the SEC. So, which is the reason that Nico of Tennessee ended up at UCLA instead of ending up somewhere else. And obviously, his brother at Arkansas ended up at UCLA too. What a adventure that was for all of us. But yes, it's always good to be aware of that. And that's really one of the reasons, Loren, that you don't see a lot of transfers in the SEC with the spring portal.
Yeah. And now, how does that? You saw Denzel Aberdeen of Florida transferring to Kentucky. Is there a difference? And maybe I don't understand this. What is the difference between the basketball and football? Is that only a football thing, or is there or do you still have the grad? For instance, I would assume Denzel Aberdeen may graduate. Does the graduate transfer rule supersede that intra-transfer ruling?
Probably. That's a good question. I will check on that. But that's a good point that needs to be mentioned. That look, if you the reason for going to school is getting an education. And if you graduate, you should be able to do basically what you want to do. Really good point there, Loren. Graduates are allowed to do things that undergraduates aren't. And frankly, I think that's justified.
No, absolutely. I think that's something that it's real convoluted. And I think for those that watch these sports and things like that, there's always something, and it lends itself to just a lot more clarity. Before we get into the rest of the SEC, just talk about the new injury rule and that was passed, and what that means now for the game going forward.
Yeah, some people are calling this the Lane Kiffin rule. But the NCAA has passed a new rule, basically came out last week in response to faking injuries. Teams will be charged with the timeout. If medical personnel, that's a key here, on a check on a player after the ball's been spotted, it will be a 5-yard penalty if they're out of timeouts. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but Lauren, the reality is, look, if you're on the 2-yard line and something like this is going on, and you get a 5-yard penalty, 2nd and 2 and 2nd and 7 are a big difference in a crucial part of the game, is it
Right.
not?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. I think that's something that it's gamesmanship, but I think it does, there's some integrity and some honesty that has to be part of the game, and I think that makes a lot of sense for sure.
Yes.
On the comfort tent or quality plumbing YouTube question, I know we kind of do the whip around with the SEC and usually in alphabetical order, but we'll jump to Tennessee since that's kind of been the hot topic. Ron Knorr asked, who won the trade of QBs, UCLA or Tennessee?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't know. And the reason I say we don't know is, UCLA got Tennessee's quarterback. Tennessee got UCLA's quarterback. I think the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You've still got a couple of quarterbacks here. Nico, look, as much promise as Nico has, it really hasn't developed yet. It really hasn't come along, and that's kind of the interesting thing here. Now, Tennessee is kind of behind the 8 ball now to some degree. The 2 quarterbacks they have got, Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre, people may not be familiar with those names yet, but they will as it goes along. Those have been the backups, and they were thought to be the guys who were going to take over and be able to be the starting quarterback. The other guy now that they've got is Aguilar. Joey Aguilar was a 2-year starter for Appalachian State, went to UCLA in the winter portal, basically for a cup of coffee, shall we say, and now is transferred to Tennessee. At Appalachian State, he threw for 6,000 yards. Get this, Loren, 56 touchdowns and 24 interceptions. So now look, I mean, we're not saying he's going to be the starter at Tennessee, but he certainly has the most experience. I mean, if you've gone to Appalachian State and throw for 6,000 yards, they're probably thinking he may be the guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
So he's 6'3", 220. I mean, listen, and I'm not being facetious here. His numbers are much better than Nico's.
Nico's, yeah, and probably a little bigger and similar offenses too. So
no question.
Yes.
Oh,
so,
yeah. 6'3", 220, no doubt about it.
Right. So Dan Bond on the Facebook Live question brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators, says that Aberdeen is a junior. So that is true. But I know guys are graduating now in 3 years and with the summer school and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll try to get some clarity for that, maybe even tomorrow, with Aberdeen being able to transfer within the SEC,
sure,
as opposed to, if he's graduating or what that tends to be, So as far as the other teams in the SEC, who stands out and who's having maybe the best spring?
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a good question. It kind of depends. I'll just hit some highlights here real quick. In Alabama, it looks like, we don't know, but Ty Simpson's got a leg up at quarterback. As a matter of fact, Ryan Grubb, their offensive coordinator, was asked, well, Coach, if you had to play today, who do you quarterback be? And he actually answered the question. He said Ty Simpson, who's been there for about this is his third year now for Simpson. But he also said, well, but remember, we don't play today either. So that's how he answered it. And Isaiah Horton from Miami, wide receiver transfer, it really had a good spring. So he was impressive. Also, Arkansas, one of their better players, Xavier Sorey, transferring from Georgia, he had a good spring too. A lot of this sounds like Major League Baseball spring practice because everybody's optimistic after the spring. And we also need to remember Nico has a little brother or younger brother named Madden, Madden. Now, he is leaving Arkansas and going to UCLA. Now, quick caveat with this, Loren, Arkansas's athletic department is trying to get that. What they're saying is, okay, you're leaving us and you're going to UCLA, which we wish you well, but you're leaving us and we want you to pay us for NIL money that we gave you, and now you're leaving. So now where that goes, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But Loren, can you see the shoe being on the other foot now with some of these schools saying, okay, you basically signed a contract with us and you're leaving and going somewhere else, and now we want some of our money back.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I think that's where we're going with some of these agreements. And the more you have these agents involved and things like that, they know how this goes. And it's just like NFL teams or any pro or any company, if you take certain incentives, those things can be, required to be a return should you not fulfill certain duties and those kind of things. So, yeah, I think that's the way things are going, because if not, the model is not sustainable, in my opinion, if there are not these guardrails, for sure.
Correct.
JF
Correct.
Hayden Craft Liquors, the Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the lychee and mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their JF Hayden liquors. Try those flavors and find your favorite at shopjfhaydens.com. Yeah, I mean, I think that, as teams move forward, it's going to continue to be an issue with recouping that money. The situation, Georgia, everybody's talking about the quarterback situation. Obviously, Beck moving on to Miami. Where is Georgia I mean, it seems that they're coming back to the field a little bit, and quarterback is an issue possibly going forward. Where is Georgia right now?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, now on Easter Sunday, Georgia got as good news as anybody. They ended up with Miami defensive lineman Josh Horton. They got an Army defensive end, Elo Meadows, and also running back Josh McCray. McCray is from Illinois. The Meadows kid from Army had mercy 7 sacks, 1 forced fumbles, and 37 quarterback pressures too. So look, Georgia always has talent. They will be okay, but the reality is, and Kirby has said this, Loren, they don't have the depth they used to. Their wide receivers last year were a total mess.
Mm-hmm.
They led the nation in drop passes. I think that group's going to be much better this year than they were. Running back with Nate Frazier, he'll be okay. The kid coming in from Illinois will help them to go along with that also. And defensively, they're going to have players on defense. Justin Williams is a guy who really stood out during that time too. So, I think overall for Georgia, they will be a top 10 team. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. But I mean, the reality is they've got to get more depth, and they've got to also do something with their offensive line. I think that's going to be very important for them too. A lot of people are concentrating on the skill positions for Georgia, but the thing they've got to be able to do is basically shore up the offensive line. I think in the receivers, and if they're able to do that, I think they'll be okay.
And finally, the Florida Gators. A lot of people bullish on the Florida Gators. Quarterback DJ Lagway at the heart of this thing. Just where is Florida right now, and has this roster been built to the point where now they can compete with the top half, or even, let's say, top third of the SEC?
Yeah. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think the spring game showed that. I mean, Dallas Wilson, for instance, with what he showed, 10 catches for 195 yards. That was impressive. Now, they did lose Gregory Smith, freshman safety. He is following through in the transfer portal. I thought it was interesting. Aiden Warner is now on scholarship, and what they're doing is just building their the quarterback room with some depth. That's one thing that's going on. I think these linebackers are going to be really good. Ty Jackson with 11 tackles was impressive. So I can tell you, Loren, I think they're going to be better than the people give them credit for. I know the schedule flips and from what it was last year, but I think they've got enough quality depth now to where they were fringe top 25 last year with some of the polls. I think they'll be squarely in the top 20 this year, and for some people, even in the top 15.
Well, Mark Galinsky on the Meldon Law Facebook question says Gators beat Georgia this year. Book it. You ready to go out on a limb with that, Brent? Or
No, no limbs in April, right?
Okay. No doubt. No doubt. We want to thank Comfortive Heating and Air, your local #1 HVAC company, professional experienced technicians. Keep you informed throughout the entire project. One last thing. What do you want to see tonight with the draft? Is there anything that stands out to you, Brent, tonight with the draft?
It'll be interesting to see where Genty goes, the running back from Boise State. I mean, we're here in Jacksonville, and there's a lot of smoke about them getting a running back. I mean, wherever he goes, he'll be a really good addition. But the reality is they've got to get they need an offensive lineman. Loren, the reality is fans, they'll almost boo when their team picks an offensive lineman. But the reality for that is, especially for teams like Jacksonville, if you can't protect your $55 million quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and he's either injured or on his rear end most of the game, it doesn't matter who the skill position players are, does it?
No, it doesn't. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting to see with a new coach and what direction the Jacksonville Jaguars go. But Brent, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you for all your insights. It's been a pleasure. Definitely appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, Loren. Great job, and thanks for helping us, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. We'll take a break, and we'll be joined shortly by Mike Morgan of the SEC Network.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Unleash the inferno.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
And you're back with PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Loren Meadows here. I'm joined by Mike Morgan of the SEC Network on the Titan MRI Hotline. Mike, how you doing?
Loren, I'm doing well. It's good to make your acquaintance. I think this is the first time we've ever spoken, so
yes, sir.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a big day today. I mean, less than 12 hours away from the NFL draft. A lot going on, a lot being made of the quarterbacks, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, but just a lot of names out there. Ashton Genty, I know a lot of people in this neck of the woods with Jacksonville wondering, is he going to be the next great running back maybe to come through Jacksonville? But just with the NFL draft, what are you looking at for, in this first round tonight?
Well, the thing that's been an automatic, I think, for months, although a lot of people wanted to make it a Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders debate, it's really no debate. Cam Ward's going to be the number one pick. Gator fans saw firsthand, he's got an NFL arm. He reminds me from an accuracy standpoint, a couple of years ago, Hendon Hooker of Tennessee, I mean, he didn't miss on much of anything. And that was Cam Ward. Is Cam Ward the best athlete? Not necessarily, but he moves well enough. And his arm, clearly to me last year in college football, he had the best arm talent. It's not particularly a great quarterback draft. So that's, to me, the kind of the overlying story, too, in the first round is that Cam Ward's number one, and that there's no controversy there. In other years, I'm not sure if he'd be number one, but in this class, he is. And if you're the Tennessee Titans, I just can't see any possible way you pass on him. They have got to get a quarterback. It's not going to be Will Levis. There's no buzz right now in Nashville about that team, and that's just the move you have to make if you're Tennessee with the number one overall pick. But then you're gonna watch the coverage on whatever channel, ESPN, NFL Network, and it's going to be a Shedeur-a-thon because everyone is just going to be obsessed with talking about where does Shedeur Sanders go. I personally don't think he's a top 10 talent. I think a lot of people assume that he's, because of his dad, he's this awesome athlete. He's really not. I mean, he's not a great runner. He's pretty accurate. He doesn't have the strongest arm, and he was pretty, at times, took a lot more sacks than he needed to, even with a bad O-line. I don't think, unless you're desperate for a quarterback, I don't think he's a top 10 pick. But we know this much, Loren, and that is teams reach for quarterbacks in the NFL draft. So somebody who needs a quarterback is going to go higher than they probably should. And the same thing with Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. I'm not sure if he's a first-round talent. I like him, but I would not be surprised if somebody reached for him. And I'll throw one other name that is the ultimate wild card, and that's Jalen Milroe, who, by the way, is going. They only invite 15 people to the draft. And they don't do what they used to do, like with Aaron Rodgers, where they awkwardly stick the camera on you every time a team passes on you in the first round.
Right,
but
yeah.
You remember that? I mean,
yeah, they learned. I think they learned their lesson. That was maybe the worst worst NFL TV. I mean, some of the worst in the history of sports, for sure.
Well, it was agonizing. I mean, it was just like, my God, can we just not flash the camera on this guy while he continually gets passed up? But, TV loves they love drama, and that could be drama. But Jalen Milroe, who really regressed last year, is a freaky athlete. Some scouts have said he's the best running quarterback they've ever seen. That includes Lamar Jackson. That includes some of the best running quarterbacks that exist right now in the NFL. And yes, he can throw it 70-something yards like most of these guys can, but he was incredibly erratic at Alabama. But if you're desperate for a quarterback and you think you're the smartest guy in the room, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could be one of the last picks of the first round. I don't think it's going to happen, but some people actually have that as a possibility. You mentioned Jacksonville. Look, Ashton Genty, I love, and obviously they could use a little bit of a spark, but there are 3 SEC offensive tackles with top 10 grades. If you don't get any of them and you continue to let Trevor Lawrence be a battering ram, I don't know how much longer that's going to work out, because it feels like he's been regressing a little bit the last couple of years. So I think those are some of the storylines early on. Abdul Carter is about as safe as bet as you can find. And to me, so is Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. Whoever gets him is probably going to get a perennial Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the offensive tackles, I mean, you start with Armand Membu, Will Campbell of LSU, and Kelvin Banks. I mean, right there in the top 4 to 5, you have 3 SEC offensive linemen. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's something. And we talk about even Cam Ward. If Will Levis was even a little bit pedestrian, I'm not sure that Cam Ward would be the number one pick, just because if you compare this quarterback class to last year's quarterback class, I've heard even that Shador, Cam, Jackson Dart would maybe even drop into the third or fourth round, put up against last year's quarterback class.
Well, I definitely think last year's quarterback class was better top to bottom. And a lot of people would tell you that, Loren, next year's class is going to be better top to bottom. So it's one of those, okay, do you want to just sit it out, be mired in either mediocrity or just be flat out bad, which is what Tennessee would be if they don't have any good quarterback play. It's not like they're loaded with talent around that position. Or do you serve up the red meat that fans want? And when fans are desperate for a winner, they want a quarterback. And so, yeah, Cam Ward, for that reason, is going to be the guy. But by no means do I think he's the best prospect in this. I mean, we haven't even talked about Travis Hunter, who I think will go number 2 to the Browns. I just think that'll be too tempting to pass up in Cleveland, to take a guy that I don't know how much he can play two ways in the NFL. I really don't. I mean, it's a different level. It's much more physical. There's much more to know. You can't just freelance out there if you're a wideout or a DB at the NFL level. But I know one thing, whichever side of the ball they do ultimately feature him in, he's a really special talent.
Yeah, no doubt. Gallo Car Wash, locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NAIL opportunities to Gator athletes, with locations on Northwest 13th Street and Southwest Williston Road, coming soon to Jonesville and North Main Street in Gainesville. On the Facebook Live question brought to you by Meldon Law, Andy McIntosh asked, Mike, do you think Tyler Warren has an opportunity to be a better NFL tight end than Brock Bowers?
Ooh, I don't know if he's as top end speed as Brock Bowers, because Brock Bowers is still pretty damn freaky. Now Warren is built like something out of a movie, like an AI figure or something, right? So his body and his size, that's what separates him. And of course, we know he can run the ball because they would put him in the backfield. Now, Brock Bowers did some of that too. I think they're very similar in that I would give Brock Bowers the edge in top end speed, and I would give Warren the edge in just kind of freaky size. But I think they're both going to be tight ends of the future. Kelsey's clearly taken a step back. I don't know how much longer he is going to be kind of the dude at that position. But I think years from now, we're going to be talking about Brock Bowers and Tyler Warren as two of the top guys at that spot, and maybe generational guys in terms of just what they can do.
Yeah, and another guy I like, and I think he's fourth now, Mason Taylor. I'm a big Mason Taylor guy. I think he's really nice player, 6'5", 250 pounds. A lot of people compare him to like a Zach Ertz. So I think he could be out of the SEC, one of those guys. Once again, you throw him with Warren, Bowers. I think those three could be that, that next group of great tight ends going forward for sure.
Yeah, there's another guy too, the Loveland kid out of Michigan.
Yeah,
who's like a 6'6", 245-pound guy. The tight end position is just so good. I mean, I don't know how old you are, Loren, but like when I grew up, you had Kellen Winslow, and I mean, you had some guys, but you didn't have this many just freakazoid type guys at that spot. And of course, it's featured more. Tight ends have never been featured more than they are right now. So it's kind of like the golden era of the tight end, and there's so many good ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think back. Yeah, I am that old, but when you stretch, you had guys. I mean, it was either one of the two. You had guys that were, it was 3rd down and 6, and they can get you 7, or you had the guy that could stretch it. What you have now, and I think with guys like Ertz and obviously Travis Kelce, the versatility where you can move them around, and they have the ability to analyze information on the run, so you could do so many different things with them. I think that's where the tight end position is going. And so, like you said, now it's just unbelievable what they're able to do with these tight ends at the pro level.
No doubt, and they're sometimes the quarterback's best friend because there's so many great shutdown corners and jockeying on the perimeter that if you've got a mismatch, which often that's what these tight ends are.
Absolutely.
They're too big for a safety. They're too quick for a linebacker. They're almost uncoverable in a lot of situations. So if you're a quarterback on those third downs, very often that you're the primary guy. It's not the guy on the outside that runs the 4-3. It's that tight end in the middle that creates some separation and catches everything in his reach.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that you talk about next year's draft, the quarterback class. I think Florida has a guy that's garnered. He even ran at pro day, caught some passes because I think people wanted to get an early look at him. Is a guy Hayden Hansen. I don't know if you're familiar, but former quarterback, nice tall kid, 6'6", 250, great hands. Didn't catch a lot of balls, but when he does, really flashes. And I think he could be one of those guys that finds his way in those top 5 to 10 tight ends in next year's draft as well.
Well, it'll be interesting to look at. I mean, if we start talking Florida football, I really want to know what is going to be the latest, obviously, with DJ Lagway and what is going on with that shoulder and what is that passing game going to look like. I know one thing from everybody that I talked to down there is that this is the most amount of skilled talent that they've had around a Florida quarterback in a while.
Right.
And obviously Hansen is part of that. The other wide receivers are they're starting to look like the part of a team that can compete from an athletic standpoint for SEC championships on offense. Now I want to see what you got on defense because, you look at the teams that have been winning the SEC and they all have had championship level defenses. It starts with the Alabamas under Saban and then the Georgias under Kirby Smart and LSU here and there. That's what Florida needs to get back to. I mean, Florida has to get back to the point where they got dudes on that side of the football. And I don't know where all of a sudden it went south, like a lot of things with Florida football, but that part of the ball needs to be back to where it's a scary part that nobody in the SEC wants to go over the middle against the Florida Gator defense.
Yeah, no doubt. Ruzo State Farm office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com or call us at 352-240-1779. Yeah, I mean, I'll say this and then we'll kind of move on to a little bit of basketball, but I'll give people this, and I'll give Billy Napier and DJ Lagway a little grace. He told me on Saturday that he is ready to throw this week, as Billy Napier stated after the spring game. And I'll say this, DJ Lagway has been very visible around Gainesville, out and about. So if there was an issue, he's out and about for a guy that may have some issues. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with Billy Napier on this one and at least say that DJ's on schedule to be ready against LIU in August. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I think he kind of put heads to bed a little bit about that after the spring game, and based on the way I've seen DJ move and operate around town, I think he's in good shape. But we'll see. It'd be a disaster if he isn't. But I wanted to ask you, Mike. The Final Four is over. Obviously, Florida Gators national champs, and now, once the euphoria, kind of dies down, you look at guys that are now, forget whether they'll come back or not. Let's just talk about you follow basketball, you're into the NBA. Start at the top. Walter Clayton Jr., and then maybe guys like Condon, Chinyelu, Will Richard, Elijah Martin. But Walter Clayton has been described on his run as a more athletic Steph Curry in some ways, and really started to move up the draft boards. Where is his stock right now? We got about 3 to 4 minutes left. Where is his stock right now with the NBA scouts and going forward to the June draft?
Well, let me say first off, I've heard the Steph Curry comp. I'm not comfortable making it because, yes, he first of all, he's more athletic than Steph Curry, But Steph Curry is the best shooter I've ever seen. And I'm not saying Walter Clayton can't shoot. He certainly can. He's come a long way in that area. But I would not want to put that label on anybody. And I don't think it's realistic to expect Walter Clayton to go in there and start bombing threes, logo threes, like it's going out of style the way Steph does. But I do think what Walter Clayton proved this year is that, number one, he can play the point. Number two, his athleticism, it's NBA ready. And number three, his shooting did become elite. You know, it wasn't before that, I don't believe, but I think he really turned himself into an elite shooter. Loren, I've seen everything from lottery to like last few picks of the first round on Walter Clayton. He's a really hard player to project because while we all saw just how good he can be, and we know that Florida doesn't win a national championship without him. I mean, he's going to go down in history as one of the best players, if not the best, to ever put on a Gator uniform. NBA scouts are going to take away that euphoria. They're going to strip it down, and they're going to take a look at, okay, how does he translate to the next level? You've got a lot of talented guards in this draft. In fact, many of them from the SEC. I think best case scenario, he's probably end of the lottery, somewhere in that kind of 8 to 13 range. And then depending on when they start poking holes in his game, he could go later than that. I have no doubt Clayton is going to be a starter at that level for a long time and have a great career. It's just a matter of what NBA teams are looking for. Like, it starts with Cooper Flagg. He's going to be the easy kind of number one. And then you've got the two Rutgers kids that are up high on everybody's list, Bailey and Harper. And you've got a lot of like wing guys that are a little bit bigger and guys that play a different position. But if you're just looking for a point guard, there's no question Walter Clayton is going to be one of those top guys. He doesn't have the NBA size that a lot of those teams love. That's why some people might knock him down a peg or two. He's probably a legit 6'2". But I certainly believe whoever gets him is going to get one hell of a player. And all the intangibles that these scouts now look for, Clayton's got it. Great teammate, unselfish, smart, on and off the floor. I just think that would kind of put him over the top in addition to the game that he already has.
Yeah, and Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators, joined today to help make Florida victorious. Real quick, the two big guys, Condon, Chinyelu. I think most Florida fans would think and hope that they would return to school, kind of do what Real Richard and Walter Clayton Jr. did last year, get a little look, see where you're at, and then come back to school. Do you see that in both of those young men?
I would say come back. Look, if Condon goes, he'll probably be drafted second round because he's 6'11", athletic, and he's only getting better. And they're really big on upside in the NBA draft, and he's clearly not a finished product. You know, if you're the last pick of the first round, I think you're guaranteed something in the neighborhood of $2.2 million. Second round's a little different deal. And second round guys, very often, you know what happens? They wind up spending a lot of time rotting in the G League, and nobody gets better in the G League, and it's not really a fun life. It's like playing single-A baseball. I think the best advice both those young men could get, come back, because all they can do is improve their stock, and I'm not 100% sure they're ready to be a factor at the NBA level.
Well, thanks a lot, Mike. Great stuff, man. I appreciate you. Pleasure to meet you. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll look forward to the next time.
Yeah, man. Always appreciate it. Thank you, Loren.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Mike Morgan of the SEC Network. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Now it's time for the Peachland, or would be Peachland Dentistry picks with JC. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Time now for This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, putting star power to work in your financial life for over 90 years. Campus USA Credit Union. And This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. In 2003, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim defeated the Dallas Stars 4-3 in 5 overtime periods in Game 1 of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It was the fourth longest game in NHL history. The final time was 140 minutes and 48 seconds. And with that, we're going to say good day with PodUp with Matthews in the morning. I'm your host, Loren Meadows, filling in for Shane, who's out on work assignment. We'll return on Monday. We'll be with you tomorrow morning, and appreciate you all. Thank you.